just to pick up down on something you were saying earlier about the community. I really wish I'd discovered the community whilst I was still in business. It wasn't until after my exit, and so circa 2015, that I discovered. Well, it wasn't a ConnectWise event; it was an auto task event. You'll have to forgive me for mentioning such such an awful phrase, but it was an auto task event, and at that event, I met MSPs. I started talking to them, and that's really what led me on my journey, offering my opinions and realizing that they had value when I didn't think they did, and but more importantly, I sort of hopped from Autotask to CompTIA, I think to a CRN event, and basically now I'm an advocate of all things community. Every MSP I talk to that doesn't get involved, I advocate it. And I know Dan, we're both lucky enough to be involved in CompTIA in the UK, and sing its praises and make contributions to it. So again, shout out to CompTIA. Definitely something anyone listening should be getting involved in. Pete, when did you discover the MSP community?
I was going to say there, the whole community thing wasn't really a thing when I was running my MSP. I mean, that was like literally 2 years ago or so. But I feel like certainly through COVID, the whole community things come together because everyone's. I mean, there were certainly the community events, even like the IT Nations and things before. But I remember with IT Nation and any vendor event really, you're in there, you go to the thing, you get the information, you go back and you like do the thing in your own business. You don't really stick around and chat and have these communities that we have nowadays. Even things like the Tech Tribe, they were much smaller back then, and the community involvement and forums and engagement was way less. So I think nowadays, certainly within COVID, just people sharing information, sharing knowledge, cross borders sharing as well. Like the amount of information I've learned from working with like Canadian and US MSPs, realizing they've got the exact same struggles as like UK MSPs. I was really nervous taking on my first client because I'm like, I don't know how to fix like US MSP problems, but they're exactly the same as UK MSP problems, just differently billed in like dollars or Canadian dollars versus pounds. But so as far as community goes, it's the fact it's there nowadays. There's so much support that I don't feel was there before. Certainly from when I was looking around, it was like coaching was like $1,500 to $2,000 a month if you want like a decent coaching, which for many, certainly me, I was running a tiny MSP with like 15 people or something. $2,000 a month feels like a significant investment to make when you don't know anything about them, if they can deliver on their promises and all those kind of things. So just the sheer amount of free information or significantly lower cost information, like become a member of all these communities, like the tech tribes, like going to the IT Nations, like CompTIA. It's so much affordable and accessible nowadays. So I think mostly it's just, absorb the information and also go and implement the information. That was half the problem of kind of what Mike went to there. People listen and they kind of go, yeah, that sounds really great. We should probably do that. And that's as far as it gets. Whereas actually the change happens when you go and do it and actually implement it in your business. You probably piss a lot of people off in the way of doing it, like I did when I was like, hey guys, I've just found a new way we're going to sort our tickets today. Let's do this from today. And they're like, hang on, you only introduced something last week. Now you changed it again. But like, that's how you make changes and that's how you make improvements. Maybe the wrong way of making it, but you get there eventually. And that's the important thing.
I think I'll just pick up on one thing, because we've mentioned CompTIA, IT Nation, Tech Tribe, other communities. The brilliant thing about community, and I'm quoting Nigel Moore here, is that it's an and discussion. It's not an or discussion. It's not picking a tribe, pardon the pun, around the Tech Tribe. But it's not picking a gathering and then, sort of putting your flag in the ground. It's anything but. Again, I think all of us will know the same people from different communities that we attend. And that's really one of the strengths that we've got. And again, as an industry, we're so unique in what we do. When you speak to people, and remember some IT Nation members have entered this industry from being outside of it. They've run businesses in other sectors, and they say, just couldn't imagine anything like this in accountancy or anything. I'm picking on accountancy, I don't know why. But this just wouldn't happen. Getting together in a room with some of your biggest ultimate competitors and talking about strategy and tactics and operations, and planning to help each other out, and actually trying to avoid those people from making the same mistakes that you did instead of hoping that they do. It's something that's so unique to what we do as an industry, and it's something we should be really proud of.
I guess
But
that was
again,
something
don't
that
paralyze ourselves
surprised me
with
about
using a
IT
race.
Nation as well, because it was very about like when I first went to IT Nation, it was very much kind of like, okay, it's going to be ConnectWise IT Nation, so we're going to sit down, we're going to go through service boards and like ticketing and like how to do things, but it wasn't that. It was like the next level up of this is the fundamental process you need in your business. Now go and like figure out how to do it in your PSA system, and hey, if it's ConnectWise, then this is how you do it. But it's yeah, like I say, it's much wider than just that single vendor.
Oh, it
Which makes
absolutely
it so
is.
much more applicable.
It has to be though, right? In the communities, I'm part of 18 different communities at least right now, including our own, which is massive, as everybody knows. And what I realized and I like and I appreciate is, first off, don't wait till the physical events. It's a 24/7 business. It's global, so you should be, So I'm constantly picking up information like all day, every day. Honestly, I'm worse than my daughters on social media at this point because I'm on all these groups and I'm reading everything, and they're like, "Can you please stop?" I'm like, "No, this is exciting stuff." And then I tell them what it's about. They're like, "This is the dumbest thing I ever heard you say." Like they're bored immediately and they shut me down, and then they walk out of the room and they sigh. But other than that, though, like it is seriously, there's a lot going on. So you shouldn't be waiting just for the physical events to take place to be doing this. You should be engaged on a regular basis. The community always helps each other. And even to your point, Pete, the thing about like even coming to IT Nation Connect, right? It's, yeah, you would think it should be about ConnectWise, but that's impossible. The way this world works is we already mentioned several other companies on this call, on this video. And that's, and if you look at the CompTIA's reports every year they put out, there's like 25 different things you're supposed to represent as an MSP. So talk about product line nightmare. Talk about the inability to stack line, and then let's not even get into the pricing conversation yet, but just knowing what the hell you need to use. So you can't go into the conversation and just say us, 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 us. That doesn't work. It's how do we do this together? Because before and at some point our topic will come around to cybersecurity and sales. I guarantee it, because everybody loves cybersecurity. Cybersecurity. Yep, there you go. And there goes Chris on cue. And as important as cybersecurity is as not important as it is at first. Because if you can't grow your business organically before it, you're not going to grow your business at all after. So it's irrelevant, right? But it comes back to just understanding how to play in that sandbox together and leverage each other's technologies and experiences and processes so MSPs can actually grow, period. And come back with bad ideas daily, Pete. Change your mind, do it this way instead. The next day, do another, which again, not bipolar or anything, but
Okay, so for video stuff for me, it's like just go to YouTube because you can learn off of YouTube. There's tutorials for everything. If you want to do video, then YouTube's the place you go learn about video. Basically, it's as easy as that. But I imagine for most of you other guys, there's some more specific resources. I don't know if like Daniel and Adam, if you've got some certain resources you go to or communities for more financial data and topics. Is that a thing? Must be like a thrilling place to go.
No, I don't think so, actually. In fact, going back to this community thing, it's interesting, sort of sticking to the subject, but also just going back a little bit as well. Sort of interesting about what you were saying and others are saying about the community sort of now pushing on a bit. And is that partly pandemic based? Probably is partly. But likewise, we've noticed that in other industries, they again, what Dan Scott said here, other industries don't seem to have what this industry has. It is really, I used to, and evangelize about it with all my clients, and just generally speaking, talking to them, and I'd come back from an Evolve meeting or something like that, and I'd be all hyper and, so where do you go, Mr. Accountant or Mr. Architect? Where do you go? Do you have something like this? No. That was always the answer. And so I think it is changing in the finance industry. We are seeing a few peer groups come together, and various things happening on that side. So I think it is changing, but I think we're a good 10 years ahead, actually. Definitely, and I think it's great. And for me, the thing that's changed things for me was a mindset shift in terms of wanting to listen, realize I didn't know what I didn't know, and other people did, and just be in the room and speak to lots of different people, soak up lots of different opinions, and try things, and just realize that there were actually lots of people out there who just wanted to help, which was great.
I agree.
Go back to your point now, Adam. What is obvious is that most tech works internationally. So Pete can have a client in Canada or New Zealand or Uzbekistan, but you can't do that with an accountant because each province will have its own laws, have its own accounts and stuff like that. So that's why the MSP space, part of why I looked into it a decade ago when I was looking at, what to do when I came back from Australia. And I looked at accountants, but bloody hell, they're miserable lot. MSPs are a lot more fun. They like shiny things. They like new stuff. Not all of them. Some of them have got personality disorders as well. But they definitely are a lot more upbeat than accountants and lawyers. And I have looked at both verticals. But the MSP space is definitely a lot more lively and a lot more international. But you try and do the same thing with cyber law 2000 or something. You might as well just jump off a cliff. What amount of fun it'll be.
I think also the personal level as well, because everyone probably when you first start thinking about this, and we've spoken about like shortcutting journeys to success and learning from each other, but also just on a personal level of getting away and spending some time with people who walk in the same shoes as you or as close to as possible, and feel the same pressures that you face, who are maybe at the moment thinking quite consciously about cash flow and thinking about how they can tighten their belt as the economy is going to throw some spanners and challenges our way, how they can retain their team. And as soon as they find really good people, those people rise up and often they rise out. And how can they attract more clients, and how can they, be everything and be professional marketeers and accountants and technical people and salespeople and everything all rolled into one, which no one can be, nobody. From talking to a lot of the members here this week, again, it's just that sense of friendship, camaraderie, and relief, really, just coming to spend some time with people who understand and realise that you're not alone. Brad Scow, who was one of the founding members of HTG peer groups and now part of ConnectWise now. And, Brad has a wonderful saying, as he does in his Minnesotan way, of misery loves company. And which is a flippant way of putting it. But, there is truth to spend time with people who can empathise is good. It's good for the soul. And I think, I would encourage anyone who hasn't given it a try or is curious about what the fuss is about, just give it a go. It can't hurt. It's not going to cost you anything, and it can't hurt.
And another thing that's not going to cost you anything is tuning in for our first proper episode in January, and I guess we'll be diving into some of the topics that we've talked about so far. So we've had sales and marketing, we've had saving money, we've had price rises, we've had recruitment and retention, we've had defining and communicating our value, making profit from cyber, and finally, as we were just talking about, making sure that we signpost all the great communities and resources within those communities for our listeners to take advantage of. So I guess in terms of wrapping up today's episode, we need a call to action. And
Sean did say something about his ex-wife. What was that again, Sean?
She's your current wife. You're welcome.
Okay.
He's okay.
And to save too much editing after this. So I guess our call to action is to basically get involved. Tell us what you'd like to hear about. Send us your questions. We'll be recording once a month during 2023 and beyond, and so our first recording will be in January. So let us know what you want us to talk about, and in particular keep an eye out for our posts about what events are going on and which ones we'll be attending.
Well, speaking about communities, so how do people get started with like ConnectWise community? If they're not a ConnectWise client at the moment, if you're literally just a random MSP, how do they get started? What's the best kind of way to get into things?
Oh, that's easy. just first off, go over to the ConnectWise site in general. You'll be able to see where there's any kind of information on we launched our virtual community. We're actually revamping it now, but it's still running 24/7. But also, we do have Facebook groups already set up and LinkedIn groups for IT Nation and ConnectWise. So, and there are other groups as well that are like ConnectWise Tips and Tricks and ConnectWise Boss that are people that are not ConnectWise people. They work in conjunction with ConnectWise that actually are there for a really good source of ConnectWise stuff or just being involved in the community. So I suggest you go to all those. At least the ConnectWise Boss is definitely never going to be ConnectWise filtered ever. It's not going to be just. It's from whatever anybody says on there from their perspective, period, and that's it. So
cool. And the next IT Nation is, I guess it's in a few days' time from recording this, but that's more next
what
year,
is it, Dan Scott? Because we're going to be there.
Absolutely right. But by the time this has gone out, I will be home from Copenhagen. But if anybody heads over to theitnation.com, it's theitnation.com. We are going to be bringing the world of IT Nation to London on the 20th to the 22nd of March, 2023. We are bringing everything. The full circus is coming to town, and we can't wait to see everybody there. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be really awesome.
Great. Thanks everyone for your contributions today, and really looking forward to getting our first proper episode recorded in January. And for now, have a great Christmas and a happy New Year.